Alright, guys, it is that time. Gotta just this hold up. Hold it. Maybe. I don't know. Anyways, it's that time of the month where we go over what I read in the month of November. So it's a November reading wrap up, obviously. We read 7 books. I only have 6 because I had to return the other one. Again, I am trying really hard where if I don't finish a book that I return it, or if I finish it that I still kind of return it. Again, I use the library a lot, so that is the important thing. We had a pretty decent month, a lot of good books, one that was but still, not too bad. So, we're going to go over them real quick, and we'll see what we'll do. Actually, before I start, I should say that in regards to my November TBR, I finished 3, I think. No, 4. I did 4, I believe. I don't even remember what my November TBR is. That's how bad I am. I can't do TBRs because I'm not going to follow them 100%. I'm not even going to remember them 100%. So, it's a pain in the butt. But anyways, I think I had it where I started Red Rising and then I was like, no, I'm not feeling it right now. So I soft DNF'd that one. I didn't read any of the Sarah J. Maas books. I'm currently reading Hair Fire, but I didn't read it and finish it last month, so there's that. And then I didn't get into Blood over Brighthaven, so there's that. And then a lot of these are ones where I kind of just started reading because it was what I was in the mood for at the time. So yeah, that is how that went. So let's start. So obviously I read Recursion by Blake Crouch. I don't remember if I put this on my TBR for November. I think I did. Not quite sure. But this one was really interesting. Like I said, I've heard a lot about Blake Crouch from different like booktubers and stuff, and I had never read it, but I grabbed this one because I saw it. So this one has to do with a cop who is going around trying to figure out some stuff. There's this thing called false memory syndrome, or is it syndrome? I don't know. Symptoms, syndrome, whatever. But basically, he's trying to figure out about that. What's going on? How is this happening? What's going on? He learns about this thing where this guy went to a place to basically have his memories altered. And he goes there, and then he had it where his daughter died in a car accident a long time ago, and him and his wife got divorced, obviously. And he went back to that moment. He was kind of forced to relive it and stuff, and he goes back and he's able to change it and stuff. And then you have the perspective of this one lady. I forgot her name. Really don't remember any names. Names are my worst enemy in books. But she is trying to work on medical like machines and stuff because her mom has Alzheimer's and she wants to help bring the memories that her mom has back so she doesn't like suffer losing who she was. And she basically, in a sense, creates the machine that creates the false memory syndrome. FMS is what they call it. And then later on, her and the one dude are basically connected and they're going back and forth trying to figure out how to stop it. And it creates issues with the world and all that stuff. And it was really interesting, really different, unique. I really liked it. It was just a bit confusing with some of the stuff and a bit like annoying with going back and back and back and back and reliving the same life but different in a sense. So it was interesting but a pain in the butt. This one I gave 4 stars. I made sure to write my star ratings just to be on the safe side this time. But I gave that one 4 stars. Like I said, it was pretty good. I heard a lot of people say I should read Dark Matter by him. So I have that one. Hopefully I will get to it in December. Not a guarantee. Next is The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. This one I do believe also might have been on my TBR. Again, some of these I just don't know. Don't know. But this one was the second Ashley Poston. I really liked her Sounds Like Love, I think is what the other one was called. Not quite sure. But I like that one, so I was like, let me try another one. And so I read this one. This one was interesting. There's a girl, she's a ghostwriter, meaning she writes under the name of someone else who's famous and writes the books. And she writes romance novels, and she has a contract where she has to write 4 books, and she's on to her last book. But the issue is she hasn't written anything in a year because she doesn't believe in love anymore after she dealt with some issues from a now ex-boyfriend and stuff. And she goes to this new editor who's there and is trying to get an extension, and he's like, yeah, no, I need it now. Finish it, basically. But then she has an issue where she has to go back home because unfortunately her father passed away. And she goes there, and her family owns a funeral house. And basically, she goes back and she's going back to her funeral house and stuff. And then she sees her editor's ghost on her front steps, which she's like, I just saw you. You were alive. Now you're dead and you're a ghost. And so now they're trying to figure things out and stuff. And I noticed there's a couple things. With Ashley Poston, I know that a lot of her books have like kind of magical realism that is like unexplained. The last book I read had it where they were like able to like be in each other's mind and read each other's thoughts. And this one is her basically talking to a ghost. But the one other thing is that there's always like some sort of writer's block or some sort of like thing where like you're stuck and you can't figure out and stuff. So that was kind of interesting. I think, what was it? Yeah, I gave this one also 4 stars and stuff. Maybe I should put my little list in the front so I can not have to look that way. But this one was pretty interesting. I think I found the 7-Year Slip, which is her most popular one. So that one also, hopefully, I'll read soon. Next one, actually, I believe, was This Is How We Lose the Time War. I've seen a few people read this, and they absolutely loved it. And it was like a short book, so I thought I was going to finish it quickly and like be over and done with it. This one took me a while. And it's not for the fact that it wasn't like very complex and hard to understand, but it also kind of was. So it's basically 2 sides of a war. One is red. They're kind of very into like destruction and violence and like stopping things at whatever cost. And then the other side was blue, which had to do with the earth and like plants and like growing stuff and all this other things. And there are there's an agent from the red side who goes by red, and there's an agent on blue side who goes by blue. And they are sending correspondences to each other. At first, it was blue who sent it to red, and then red was going back. And like, it was interesting because like you get where they're going through timelines and different like past areas and stuff and trying to change it to help their side. And like, it was interesting. I will say that. This one took me a while, more so because I just was so confused with some of the stuff because it's like trying to go ahead and trying to go back. And then like there's all these like really profound and like long kind of letters that like are kind of like poetic and like also trying to like talk and ask questions and stuff. And it was interesting. But I was so confused and I did not get it 100%. And like, there's a war going on, but in my mind, I'm like, what is the war about? Like, that's my main thing. These are 2 sides of the war, but I don't know what they're fighting for. Like, is it to make the earth better? And if so, is it because blue is trying to make it more green and like sustainable and stuff like that, and Red is like, no, we want like these advanced technologies and all this other stuff. I don't know. And then some of it too is that the way they were sending these letters, it wasn't just like, hey, wow, here's like a letter, a note, magically. No, it was like, hey, this seed has such an intricate carving and stuff, and if you eat it, then like the words will appear or some stuff. Like, it was so complex and weird, and like it was unique and creative, and like I said, the metaphors of describing certain things were good, but it was just too much. I only gave this a 3-star. I get the hype, it was too hard for me to understand and stuff, so yeah, I could not get into that one as much. And that's one where apparently a lot of people want to read it, so I had to return it back to the library. So there was that. Next was The Rom-Commers by Catherine Center. I read one other book by Catherine Center, Hello Stranger, I think it was called. And this one was about a girl. She is a screenwriter, but she doesn't have anything kind of well known because she's been busy helping take care of her dad. She gets this opportunity to go work with this guy who's a really popular screenwriter, but he wrote a rom-com because he was asked to, and if he writes this rom-com, he can write this other, or his other mafia like screenplay or something gets published or done. And so he wants to, but his rom-com is horrible, and so his agent is her ex and also kind of agent, and so he gets her to go help write this screenplay with him, and her sister is taking care of her dad and all that. And I really liked it. There was a lot of like quotes and stuff in here that I loved, and I liked how it wasn't like insta-lovey for them. Like, she really admired him from all of his work, but she wasn't like, oh my gosh, I love him. There was things where she was learning about him and how he was and stuff. And then obviously he's kind of like reluctant because, again, she's not well-known screenwriter. She hasn't like made anything or been in anything. Like, she's almost won, but like she hasn't. So he's like reluctant to work with her, but also he's read some of her stuff and he's like, she's good, but why is she not doing anything with it? So I like this one. I did give this one a 5-star. I won't lie, I think I would actually knock it down a little bit. Just because, in a sense, again, I don't remember their names. And even though there's stuff that I really liked, I think it was just the in the moment kind of thing where I just really loved it at the time. But right now, I don't think I would like rave about this. Like, it was good, but now I'm feeling like it wasn't that good. So it's a 5, but I would probably drop it down to like a 4. Just saying. So sorry. And then that one wasn't on my TBR, but this one was. This is, what was it? Oh, I have it upside down. Death at Morning House. This is by Maureen Johnson. I read her Truly Devious series, and this is, I think, again, her newest book. I would have to look it up, but this, I believe, is her newest book. I loved her Truly Devious series. That one was so great. It was my favorite. And I was like, oh, this one, it sounds interesting. Why are you gonna be loud outside? Like, why? Right now, too. Anyways, this one sounded interesting. There was something about an accidental arson and then going to an island where, like, basically she's taking over for a dead guy. And so I was like, cool, this sounds great, interesting. Thought it was going to be really good. This one I gave a 3.5. Let's just get that out of the way. This one, out of all of her books that she's written, is probably my least favorite right now. But mostly because, in a way, it was not anything like the other book, like series, her Truly Devious series. And I think I went into it thinking it was going to be kind of like that, and it wasn't. So there's this girl, Marlo. I remember her name. She is into this other girl. They're working at an ice cream shop. She's kind of also like house sitting for a friend. And so she asked this girl on a date that she's been really into They go to Cheesecake Factory, and then they go back to this place. She bought this girl a candle, specifically some weird petrichor candle thing that smells like rain, like after it rains or something, right? And it explodes, catches the house that she's house sitting for on fire. She's super embarrassed, like all this. She thinks the girl doesn't want to talk to her because the girl goes and gets a different job and stuff. She loses her job at the ice cream factory because she's so embarrassed. Everyone knows her as the girl who caused the fire. She gets an offer to go work at this island, at this house that's only open for the summer before it gets bought out or before it gets turned into something else. There was some deaths at this house before, which again is kind of like her Truly Devious. But this one, she goes and she's working with a bunch of other teenagers, and she's supposed to be like a tour guide and stuff, and there's an adult watching them. And then she finds out that, hey, she's taking over for a dead guy. The guy died during prom, and he dated one girl in the group. There's 5 other teenagers. He dated one girl. He was currently dating this one boy. This other couple other people kind of like, I guess not exactly hooked up, but they were associated. And then basically he dies during prom, and everyone assumes it's an accident. All this stuff. There's talk about what happened before, where there was this guy who he had this house built on this island, and he adopted like 6 kids, and then he got married and had another kid, and then that kid died in a drowning, and one of the other kids like jumped off the balcony and died, and then they all left and never came back, and pretty much everyone else died except one person. He lived a long time, and he came and dropped off something, and it was supposed to be treasure or something. And so you're going through that and then this, but like she's not really solving the crime. She doesn't really care. It's not until the lady who's in charge of watching them and making sure they do their job disappears that stuff starts to happen. And I think that is why too that I was like, no. And then like I said, I was thinking this was going to be like the Truly Devious, where the girl Stevie was into solving crime, and this person did not care really about crime, was super obsessed with the girl that she like had the date with, and it's just super annoying. And all of a sudden, at the end, she solves the crime by piecing things together. But it was like one of those things where it's like, how? And she's like, oh, I was really good at those puzzles where like you have to figure out like if so and so doesn't live in this house, what house do they live in? And I'm like, that is not the same. Not the same. So again, 3.5 wasn't the worst book out of this month, but it was definitely not as good as her other ones, which I read the other 2. These are the other 2 in the Truly Devious series. These are after the Truly Devious Saga trilogy that is specifically about the Ellingham Academy. So the Ellingham Academy is the school she goes to, and that one had its own case that was revolved around the academy, and then there was like an additional murders that were happening. And like I said, I love those ones. These are after that. This one is The Box in the Woods. This one has it where there's a guy who owns a summer camp that had some murders that happened close by. He wants Stevie and her friends to go and basically try to solve it or do a podcast and talk about it. Not exactly solve it because it was like 40, 50 years ago and stuff, but he offers her and her friends jobs. So her, Janelle, and Nate all go. V is in Vietnam, and David is doing campaign stuff and things to try to stop his dad, so he's not interested in going. He does later up here, in here. But this one was interesting. It had some people who were still around to give like real-time accounts which was different, and it did talk about it and stuff. And it was good. It wasn't great. There was some stuff where it just like it was confusing and it didn't make sense, and I thought there's going to be a little more and stuff going on. So it was good. It was not the greatest, but this one was a 4-star. This one is currently the last one. I saw that another one is coming out, and I can't wait because of the way this ended. This one is also, I think, the thickest, I think, roughly. But this one is 9 liners. This one happens in England. David, in the last book, has a chance to go study at a school in England and stuff. So he goes, and then in here in the beginning, he offers Stevie and her friends a chance to come and stay for like a few days, and they have to get the Ellingham Academy like head person to like agree. And so they come up with a plan and like this whole like schedule to go and do it so that it can count towards a school credit, kind of like a student exchange program. But I think it's like only like a week long, so it's only a few days. But they go, they meet up with David. David has a classmate named Izzy whose aunt was supposedly involved in a murder. Her and a bunch of friends all went to this house. 2 of them ended up dead. So Izzy says, hey, like my aunt, when she was on painkillers from a surgery, she was talking about this. And I think there's more to it. So she asked Stevie to help. Stevie, of course, is like, yeah, I can try. But then, of course, like in between that, she has to do the stuff for school and studying and stuff, or like going on these tours and like all this stuff and like talking about it. And in between that, she is trying to like basically, since she's been away from David for a long time, she's trying to like kind of spend time with him in a romantic sense and all that. And then the aunt goes missing, and so the Izzy girl, that's her name, David, Izzy, she's asking Stevie like, hey, can you help me figure out what happened, right? And then all the friends from the thing, right, they were all really close, have been close ever since college. They're trying to help her as well find the Izzy's aunt Angela and stuff, and Stevie's trying to figure out information because apparently the Angela girl who went missing, the aunt, had a bunch of information, police reports and stuff from the murders. And so Stevie's trying to figure out like what did she know about it and where is she since she like mysteriously disappeared. They go to the house, talk. Stevie somehow figures it out, but there's no like concrete evidence, which is the hard part. And again, I really like how they go back and forth between like the past day with the crimes and stuff and then the current day stuff. So that is interesting. I give this 4 stars though because the one thing that really was annoying was just her constant like desire to like just be with the David guy, and then of course she was jealous because she was jealous of him spending time with Izzy and not knowing about it and stuff. And then this is going to be a bit of a spoiler, so sorry if you have not read or you do not care, but David breaks up with her at the end. She's heartbroken. This is her first boyfriend. She's like 17, almost 18. Her first boyfriend, across country, breaks up with her. She's supposed to leave, but she hasn't yet solved the case. She then has to solve the case. She solves it, misses her flight. She's with the Izzy girl. The Izzy girl is so grateful to figure out like what happened, right? And she tells her like, hey, yeah, I know, like David told me that you guys broke up. And she's like, yeah, I was jealous of you. And she's like, huh, what? And then basically she's like, well, does he know you're still here? And she's like, no. So they go to the pub. He's drunk. He's like, I know I messed up. He texts Izzy this. They go, and then Izzy's like, oh, he's not here. Let's go. And then it ends with Stevie seeing his face up against someone, basically probably making out with someone because he's drunk. And that's how it ends. And I'm like, I need to know what's going to be the next one. And like I said, the next one doesn't come out until I believe it's April. And I'm like, I want to know so bad. But this was a 4-star. Like, so the only thing was just her constant need to like talk about David and her relationship and trying to spend time with him while also trying to do all this other stuff. So that was that. Like I said, I am currently trying to do some rating for the other vlog I have going on. That's a long vlog. So we'll see how this goes. But like I said, tell me if you've read any of those, what books you read in November, and all that. And I will see you guys next month, hopefully. We might do something, we might not. I don't know. I'm trying to post more on socials and like on here with shorts. But it's hard because, again, I am a mom with 3 kids. And this month is busy because my oldest daughter and my birthday are this month. So we will see how things go. But if I don't see you guys before the holidays, I hope you guys have a happy and safe holiday season. And again, if you like what you see, make sure you like and subscribe. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.